Welcome to Wednesday Wanderings. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. I'm wondering how you are coping with alert level 4. Here in Cape Town today is a wonderful sunny day, and it's been lovely to sit out in the garden a bit and just to enjoy the warmth of the sun. Different to last week, where the rain was pouring down and it was cold and wet and windy. Tomorrow, they're threatening more rain. And the City of Cape Town's also indicated they'll be doing some electrical maintenance in the area. So I fear that today's wonderful warmth will be replaced tomorrow by cold and wet. But that's the nature of life. But this comes as part of this level 4 lockdown, which hasn't locked us down quite to the same level we went into initially last year. But nonetheless, it has restricted our movements. Curfew from 9 o'clock. We're unable to meet in any large gatherings. And I'm finding I really miss the Sunday in-person service, although at St Andrews we've kept a mix of both in-person and online worship opportunities. There's something about just being able to see people in 3D. It's different to the flat screen that you and I are seeing each other through right now. I may not actually spend time walking around people in church on a Sunday morning, but just to know that I can is, I think, part of the freedom of being in person. Amazing to think that 18 months ago, it wouldn't have been a thought that crossed my mind, and it's one that now does, and amazingly, quite regularly. This lockdown has come in winter. And I think that on one level for me, there's been and is a real blessing in that it's good to hibernate. It's good to disengage from the busyness and the fullness of life and relationship. It's tough too. And I need to acknowledge both aspects of that. I'm discovered over the last while, since COVID kicked in, that actually knowing that I have a meeting, that I need to be somewhere, is something that helps me engage with life. And that actually spending time with people is really life-giving. One can do so much over Zoom, over Facebook, over WhatsApp, through emails. But there is something wonderful about just time together with other people. And I think that relates too to our relationships with God. And in this kind of time of greater hibernation, a lot more responsibility, I think, lies with each one of us to maintain that relationship. It's one thing to be able in normal times to pitch up at church and to have someone lead us through worship, or to have a liturgy and a voice that gives direction to that. It's something else to actually take personal responsibility to engage with our faith and with our relationship with God. And I would encourage you to persevere. There are days where I seem to engage well with God, and it's easy to wake up and do my morning meditations and prayers and to end the day with that. The other days where it's hugely difficult. It's difficult enough just to open my eyes, let alone get out of bed and actually embrace the day. And I suspect that that's always been part of my life experience. But I think it's highlighted so much more strongly by this particular time in which we live. And so really to encourage you, as I'm needing to encourage myself, and so I need to hear my own words today, to be gentle with yourself. If you find that life is difficult and you're finding it hard to embrace each day, that's just where many of us, I think, are at the moment. And to trust that within it, God continues to be present to us. I remember in one of my sermons, and I can't remember whether it was Padraig Ó Tuama, probably was, as I've spent so much time with his writings in the last while, but it may not have been, just speaking about the presence of presence and the absence of presence. And what I loved about that thought was that even when we perceive God to be absent, he's present. And obviously the joy of perceiving God to be present and him being present is the other extreme. But interestingly, that God is always present, even in the absence. And there's been many times over these last 18 months where I've taken real courage from that. that even in those moments where I'm feeling distant from God, maybe distant from those around me, distant from the society in which I live, to know that actually God is here, holding and guiding and leading, and just part of that. So I encourage you today, just hibernate. This time, winter time, has always been and continues to be within creation a time just to sit back and to reflect on where one has been, where one is, where one's going. And in that quieter space to be resourced in new ways. And may God do that for you. And may you find God either in the loneliness, if you find yourself quite disconnected from people at the moment, or in the joy of being with others, if you are sharing a home with other people and have the opportunity to continue to interact in the workspace and life space around you. But explore where God is, wherever you find yourself. Explore where God is in those spaces. And may something of that exploration just bring a renewed sense of hope, a renewed sense of purpose, a renewed sense of life, a renewed sense of goodness.